Okay. And tutes is blue. Okay, cool. Alright, so I will go ahead and reveal the card on stream, and there we go. Let me go ahead and confirm the races are ready. Just waiting for Toots to confirm that he's ready, and then we will be good to go. And I'll try to cover the gameplay as best I can, but since I am solo casting this match, I'm mostly concerned about just trying to make sure that everyone's doing the goals the way that they're supposed to, and also trying to keep track of all of these on-screen counters. Okay, so racers have now revealed the card. I think this is a pretty fun card. When I revealed this card, it would be a card that I would personally want to race. There's a couple of very hard goals on here: Hotfoot Gold Disc, Star Wasper, Clear Wave 3. But there's also like some good synergy. Like you can get a couple of bosses in Vanger, get a couple of bosses in Star Wasper on your way to 50k. 3, 2, 1, start. Okay. And good choices from both of our players so far. Bobbaro going into Mooncat to get some warps, and Toots going into Waldorf to try to get 4 puffins at once. As a heads up, I'm not currently able to see chat. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. Yeah, I'm mostly just trying to keep track of everything, and as a solo caster, that's not always the easiest, but thankfully I have a couple of casts under my belt now, so it's not like we're going into this completely fresh. Where is the source? Vex, thank you for 16
your
months.
ideas are intriguing to me.
Also,
I
hi.
wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
Hope you're doing well. So both players going for quick goals, and thankfully not going for the same goal, so they should both be good to get this. Mooncat 2 warps can be done as quickly as you get the first warp on this screen and then get the second warp on the thing coming out of it, and that counts as 2 warps. So already got a gift as well, because Mooncat gifts are just find a warp, so there's good synergy on that with the board as well. Well, it is important to still chat with y'all in chat too, so hope everyone's doing well. Meanwhile, while we are in Waldorf, you can kind of see from right here, oh, you can't actually see my mouse, underneath the 14 shells that Toots currently has, you can see that he has 2 puffins. The square in the top left corner is marked when you have 4 puffins in your inventory at once, which is it's not the hardest Waldorf goal. I think at least at one point there was a Waldorf goal of have 6 puffins in your inventory at once, and that means you have to like find every single puffin and also not die. Meanwhile, Bob got the very quick goal for the bottom left of use 2 warps, and is now going into Star Wasper. Both of these players were B-League tier players along with myself. We all got knocked out of playoffs, but honestly, if you'd ask anyone in B tier, I think they'd tell you that all of B tier is actually like pretty evenly matched. There were a couple of players that did very well with records, but I think even in the games that were played between like top seeds and bottom seeds or whatever, like everyone was still pretty like getting the goals that they wanted to do. So it's very nice to see. Alright, only popping in for the UFO, it looks like, which is understandable. Getting 50k is pretty fast, but I know both of these players haven't had quite as much time to play bingo recently, they were saying before the match. So I think they're mostly just concerned with getting some spaces on the board and getting comfortable in playing. Meanwhile, Toots got the space for the top left corner of getting 4 puffins. Bobbaro's working on getting another UFO here, which will be, I think, after this next wave of enemies. I think you gotta kill the explodey guy here, and then you're good. Meanwhile, still continuing for the gold disc in Waldorf is a good call. You already had a pretty good run going. You have 5 puffins right now, and you're only 11% of the way. This is a little risky of a launch, yeah. I think Toots was hoping that he was going to be able to get that fish on the way back, but I think the puffin just barely carried him over. Good call to just use the propeller, get to a safe spot kind of farther ahead, and hopefully be able to see. Meanwhile, bobbaro is potentially only doing this for the UFO, but I was gonna say would potentially also mark off a square if he was doing this in reverse, but taking an interesting route to the UFO if this is to the UFO. Typically for the onion delivery. I mean, I guess this is at the same spot. I've never seen anyone go up like that before, but that was a interesting way to go. I think it's left from there, though. He was like right there. That happens, though. It's very easy to get lost in onion delivery. And meanwhile, got a gold. I don't think that counts towards arcade ace. I think it does. I think Waldorf is an arcade game, if I remember correctly. It is. Okay. So that will be 1 gold and 1 arcade ace gold. Arcade ace is just gold disc any 3 of the arcade games. For those that don't know, that's Magic Garden, Paint Chase, Velgrass, Campanella, Kit Club, Waldorf's Journey, Onion Delivery, which I don't think we've ever actually seen an Onion Delivery. I don't think we've ever seen an onion delivery gold in bingo. Meanwhile, bobbaro is probably just looking up a map of where to go for the UFO. It's a little easier to just go from the start. But Toots is showing off, honestly, probably one of my favorite bingo spaces, completing a day of deliveries in reverse. Beyond the fact that onion delivery controls with tank controls that are now reversed because you're just looking over your shoulder and driving in reverse the entire time, you're also more limited than you would normally be. So you can kind of see like a direct comparison here. On the left, bobbaro is able to kind of just go whatever speed he wants to go, and after he stays up at max speed for a certain amount of time, he recovers health and is able to kind of play a little bit more recklessly. But because Toots has to be driving in reverse, and there's like a pretty hard cap on speed, as you can see, the 3 hearts that Toots has are the only hearts that he's going to be able to get unless he does another delivery and recovers health. And City Hall back to the factory definitely feels a lot more far when you're driving in reverse. But I think that was the first shot of that. That was very clean. Meanwhile, I think bobbaro got the UFO for that. I'm going to count the UFO for that, even though I didn't actually see him get it, because I think that's why he's on the menu again. Meanwhile, Golfaria versus Combat Ants. That's a fun mix. Surprise is not very far at all into the game, so this is a fairly fast goal. I don't know if it's the fastest goal that's currently on the board, but that's okay. This does give me at least a little bit of time to talk about the board itself. So there are a lot of like longer goals on this board, but there's also like a decent amount of synergy towards the general goals if you just kind of start picking and choosing some of the games that you're going after. So like, for instance, I talked about it earlier, but if you get farther into Vanger, there's like a pretty free 3 to 4 bosses that you can get just from Vanger collecting a key code. So if you plan your route around it, you just get 3 quick bosses and then dip into danger for like 10 minutes. And then mark off both of these spaces at the same time. Felgress hold 50 coins at once is also very fast and can potentially be done on the very first wave. Bobbaro taking a route to the UFO. I'm not sure if this is the best route to take, but he might still be able to see it from here. Typically I tend to go a little bit more north at the start and then head into the desert, just so you have more strokes in the sand to be able to go far. Oh, but still able to see it anyway. Okay, that worked out well. And not going for the blockbuster, just going for the UFOs right now, which is definitely fair. And then I think the wait here, assuming that he just waits a couple of seconds for the UFO to show up, I'll go ahead and count that one then. I think that will be UFO number 5. And could just kind of keep going in pin golf here to mark off a couple of the other goals. It's a pretty quick gold, and there's also the actual pin golf space. There's the UFO. Marked it off. Alright, good. That's one less general goal for me to have to pay attention to. Speaking of, got a hole-in-one, which is also another gift. So I think Bobbaro is up 2-0 on gifts currently. And just as I expected, kind of just quickly playing through pin golf. Even with a pretty casual pin golf game, it doesn't normally take more than like 5 to 6 minutes to play. And since there are a couple of goals on here, I think this specific pin golf goal is actually very hard, by the way. But no! How unfortunate! Had the bounce over to get the hole-in-one, but then the dunk just kind of fucked him over for no reason. Hi, Ambi, how's it going? Oh, head-to-head pin golf. Okay. Winner bid if you're here. There's more pin golf in this game than the playoff game yesterday. But as I was mentioning, this hole-in-one in 3 different courses goal is actually pretty hard. There's not very many courses that you can even get a hole-in-one in. Bobbaro wouldn't have to redo this one over and over again because he already got the hole-in-one on the first course. So that's 1 hole-in-one for both players, and also a gift for Toots. But the next hole-in-one is on stage 3, and we almost saw Bobbaro get it last time. But unfortunately had a little bit of a bad bounce. Toots unfortunately also gets a little bit of an unfortunate bounce there. I don't know if I would necessarily quit out just because I didn't get the hole-in-one on this hole. But Bobbaro gets it. Good job. You don't want to have to rely on some of the other hole-in-ones later, but like it is possible to get it later. And plus stage 3 is kind of early enough into the run that if you need to get that hole specifically, like you can kind of just retry till you get it. Very nice. That was a far chip in. Hi, Fane. GG on commentary earlier. It was fun. Yeah, oh, come on. Toots got robbed. Did everything that Bobbaro did and just had the ball land slightly short. Yeah, 19 minutes for that hack is wild. Pretty much a perfect approach, though, from Bobbaro on the second shot. You want to stay up there if you can to be able to get the chip in after that. And then an unfortunate bounce into a very fortunate, like, ricochet backwards. Holy, is a hole-in-one possible on that hole? I didn't even think that was possible. That was a very nice stage 7. But I think, like, if you got the theoretical god bounce there, you should be able to hole-in-one on that hole, and I didn't think that'd be possible, but that's really cool. 2 years to make, 19 minutes to beat. So true. That paper got there.
It's just blown off, sorry.
It's okay. And got it. Okay. So that's 3 hole-in-ones for bobbaro. Curious to see, okay, I was going to say curious to see if he marks off the space. Does immediately. And Toots immediately dips out to go block the upwards diagonal with the golf area goal. I'm not sure why this stream's looking like this, by the way, but it seems like it's a little bit better now. But, like, it doesn't seem like it's on my end. Also, 5 spaces marked in 14 minutes is a very good job by both of these players, by the way. Toots is seeing that bobbaro is threatening the diagonal bingo here. Not, like, super directly, because obviously bobbaro is just chilling and playing golf right now. But luckily, for those that know the map, everything in golf area is, like, reachable from the beginning. It's just kind of a pain to do it. I would say the blockbuster is probably one of the hardest things to grab in the beginning, because it means that you're doing it without breaks, and it's also pretty far away. This is the golf area goal that I probably know the least, like, personally, but I know that the route is generally go left and then up. At least I'm pretty sure that this is the one that's in the ruins, if I remember correctly. Also, the points for the players were right there, but now they're not, so. Picking up an eagle for an extra couple of strokes. I think it's probably a good call to just burn a stroke there, but actually see where you're going. It's a very, very unfortunate bounce of these stupid mushroom blocks, though. Understandable to just go for a health upgrade here, because navigating in pin golf without upgrades is pretty tricky. I'm a little surprised to see him not just try to grab that health upgrade and then go for the checkpoint here, but smart play to just try to get a checkpoint that's a little bit closer. I think with those bugs there, you might actually want to try to grab those strokes now. Yeah, that's unfortunate. As most players can attest, it is very difficult to play golf area without breaks. And unfortunately, getting breaks isn't always the most, like, time-sensitive thing. Do I know all the gift conditions off the top of my head? I don't know all of them. I do have... basically at the beginning of the season I wrote down like a little like cheat sheet for myself of the bingo goals that like I needed to reference quickly and often. So like I have a list of all of the games that have like Easter egg UFOs and stuff like that, and I do have a list of like most of the quick gifts. I definitely don't have all of them because some of them are pretty long, but nice chip in from Bob to just barely get the cherry. Cherry doesn't matter in this one. And unfortunately, pin golf is not an arcade game. I think it counts as one of the few sports games in here, but it does count as a gold disc at least, so. Did pick up a stroke count in golf area, by the way, so now has 23 strokes to work with instead of 20. Meanwhile, bobbaro is dipping into camouflage to escape with 3 of 3 levels on, or 3 of 3 collectibles on 5 levels. This is a pretty fast goal, but you have to be a little picky and choosy on like actually getting all of the collectibles in certain levels. Like level 1, it's really fast to get it because you just grab this orange, go up on the top, grab the other orange, and then grab the baby on the way out. But some of the levels, especially like in the middle to late portions of the game, it's significantly harder to clear if you go get the baby, for instance. So you really want to try to make sure that you're getting all of the collectibles in the early levels and kind of picking and choosing in the mid game for this one, I think. Also, for anyone curious, this is the Bingo Underground Tournament for players who were eliminated from playoffs and stuff already, and just a couple of people that wanted to play anyway. Some of the matches will be having special rule sets. Like, for instance, my match with Smo tomorrow is going to be a bingo board that only takes place in, like, the 7 games that we really want to play in bingo. It's like I've made a custom, like, bingo sync board and stuff of games that we only want to play and goals that can be done in those. This match, as well as most of the matches from week 1, it seems like, are pretty straightforward. Like, this is just a kind of regular lockout bingo game. But as we get farther into the underground tournament and stuff, we might see some more interesting stuff. Meanwhile, understandably getting frustrated with the golf area and just dipping into Valve Race. Honestly, I think this Valve Race goal is even faster. You can defeat the crone as early as floor 1, and if you know how to use magic in this game, it's pretty quick. Yeah, very happy to see everyone. Thanks everyone for hanging out. This is always fun to cast bingo matches and stuff, and honestly I didn't get to do it like quite as much during season 1 as I wanted to, so we'll definitely try to fix up the layout and do it more in season 2. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to like place the information and stuff for season 1 because it's kind of a lot to keep track of and also display to you guys so you know what's happening. But I've seen a couple of other layouts from some other streamers that present the information a little differently, so I'll probably play with the layout a little bit after the season. Meanwhile, unfortunately, in Valve Race, if you run out of stamina, it is very easy to lose a ton of health. Thankfully, there's the minor heal spell, which takes about a little over half of your starting mana, and you recover with every step, so it's pretty fast. So I am a little surprised to see bobbaro going for this kind of longer, hard camouflage goal right now with some of the other stuff that's on the board. He could be trying to double up. I just saw this get eaten by a frog gator or bird space. So he could just be focusing on just getting eaten right now. Oh, that looks like what he's doing, so I would expect that space that I just starred to get marked off here. Yep. And there's an interesting like psychological play here if you're tutes and just see that camouflage got marked off, because then you kind of automatically assume that Bob's also going for the space up here. And I think you're sort of seeing it right now, either that or Toots is consulting a map on where to go, which is also possible. But like, if I'm Toots and I just see that this camouflage space gets marked off, I'm going to assume that this camouflage space is also being worked on and going to be marked off soon. And as a bingo player, you can either just kind of go with that and it makes sense and you just get your space when you're supposed to, or you can, especially in a game like camouflage that like saves progress, like bank your progress, go play a completely different game, know that you probably have more progress in camouflage than Toots does, unless Toots happen to also be in camouflage, It's interesting how much like back and forth mind games you can have with players as you kind of get farther into bingo stuff. Because I've seen multiple players kind of do things differently, where like bobbaro, for instance, seems to just kind of be getting this camouflage goal right now. And I've seen players who would have this camouflage progress and then just go do a bunch of other stuff, and then later in the game come back to camouflage, assuming they still have more progress, and then get this goal in like an hour from now. It doesn't seem like that's what Bobbaro's doing, which is honestly understandable, but meanwhile, Toots is battling the crone. The crone is basically the shopkeeper in Valbrace. Unfortunately, it looks a little low on mana, so isn't going to be able to like pierce lock her here. So kind of just has to like straight up play her, which is a little scarier because she is actually pretty strong, especially when you're really low leveled and not upgraded at all. It does look like Toots grabbed the rapier from floor 1 behind the gate. Oh, it does know about Pierce, but she's unfortunately too high up and just has like a sliver of health left. There we go. Good job. So that's an exceptionally good space for Toots. Not only does it block the diagonal, it also kind of opens him up to a lot of bingos now. And going back into combatants to probably work on these 2 spaces now, if I had to guess. Also, for anyone wondering, these stars don't show up for bobbaro and Toots, so they can't see what I'm marking. But it's mostly just for y'all to kind of have a little bit of more of an idea of some of the spaces that are being worked on, or have a little bit of progress. I don't think either player has a boss yet. But otherwise we're pretty well tied on the remaining general goals here. So I've decided, looking at this layout, that I want this back over here. I don't have too much to commentate about combat ants, because it's an interesting game if you haven't played it. I personally really like it, but playing it as like a straight up real-time strategy game is sometimes incredibly frustrating. It looks like Toots unfortunately didn't. I was going to say, it might want to surrender and just retry this one. Depending on how fortunate you are with this opening, like, drag the ant forward, you can potentially cut off these ants after just like 2 or 3, and you can kind of see what's happening here. They're all kind of chasing Toots right now, while his own ants are just kind of waiting to be fodder. Oh, but unfortunately broke it, so they're gonna now try to go back, and now this is a lot of ants. It's a little difficult to drag the ants the exact direction that you like need to take them. You gotta be pretty close to them for them to aggro onto you, but also far enough away that they don't just like walk into you. Thank you for the follow, by the way. And if these ants start to go to the bottom left corner, I think just restart, because that means that they are getting a steady supply of ants and there's not very much you can do about it. Toots is in a position where he can like kind of mark this off if he's able to get to the bottom left corner and stop those ants from like spawning more. But unfortunately it looks like they're just going to kind of keep replenishing. Almost at the point where the ants are just like kind of default coming to battle though, so this might be okay. If he's able to drag these top ants down, this should be okay, but it looks like he's kind of retreated kind of far into this. Yeah, this one's a little frustrating because I think Toots has been like just on the edge of being able to beat this level quickly like a couple of times now, and unfortunately the red ants are just not playing along as well as they should be. A head-to-head combat ants race? Let's go. That's exciting. There are 2 spaces for combat ants on this board, so it's a very good idea to play it, honestly. Unfortunately, these players have no idea that they're both in combat ants right now. Can't believe we got a head-to-head combat ants race. This is fantastic. Would also like to point out, Warp Tank healing sector is not very long at all. I think a lot of players, including myself until pretty recently, are a little scared of Warp Tank goals, but if you kind of just sit down with the game and practice, or just use the resource doc for the stuff that I wrote about it, the longest Warp Tank goal that we have is the beat 9 levels and speak to 3 NPCs, and you can still do that in under like 10 minutes if you know where to go. Warp Tank. I learned a lot about my Warp Tank strats from your speedrun, Spooty, so I'm glad that you were here for that. Also, hi. I think even if you don't know the like speedrun like warp locations and stuff, just casually playing Warp Tank and like not dying is still very fast. I think still faster than trying to beat 4 levels in combat ants, honestly, but I'm not gonna complain because I like combat ants. I like seeing some of the I guess less represented games get some time to shine. But I do also think that Warp Tank is counting as one of those underrepresented games. Also, we're a half hour into the match and 0 bosses have been killed from either side, and that's pretty interesting because there's some pretty decent boss synergy on this board, I would say.
CO tier 3, CO 1, CO 2, CO shock, CO cannon.
Rev, thank you for 50 months of tier 3. That is a long ass time. Thank you. Yeah, probably like 6.5 minutes to hunt down the NPCs. Yeah, I recently like practiced all the Warp Tank goals because I wanted them to have some kind of documentation for the bingo resources, and I was very, very surprised at how fast they actually go. Meanwhile, same race, same level combat ants, but it looks like Toots finally did get the cheese to be able to cut off the ants before they take over this upper left area, which means that officially through level 3 and going up to surprise. No, going to ambush. I forget exactly where surprise is at. It does taste weird. Okay. I'm not... But like, it's not even the sauce, right? It just tastes weird for another reason?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just make taquitos in a little bit then. That's fine. I'm glad I at least warned you. Yeah, I'm glad I at least warned you about it so you weren't trying to eat too much of it. That was surprise. I think surprise is the one where you're in the middle and you have the 2 guys on the outside of you, if I remember correctly. How's that going, Johnny? I could be misremembering, because honestly I don't really remember the level names of... Okay, I don't remember most... Oh, that was surprise. Why is neither player marked that space off? Okay. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why Toots didn't mark that off, because I'm pretty sure Toots beat surprise first and maybe just either didn't see that space or was just focused on this other goal down here. But I think Toots should have probably marked that off and just didn't. But this is gonna be very confusing for bobbaro, because if I'm bobbaro, I assume that I'm totally fine in this combat ants goal, and seeing this marked off immediately after he marked off surprise is gonna be really confusing. I had this happen in one of my bingo matches this season where my opponent and I were both in block wall at the same time, and we didn't know that we were in block wall at the same time. I marked off a goal that I beat just quickly first and thought I was totally fine to beat the other block wall board, or space that was on the board, and then got marked off like 2 minutes later, and I was just flabbergasted that not only was my opponent actually in the same game as me, but they beat me there. That said, this level is pretty long. I don't know if I would have necessarily chosen this to be my level 4, because this level you kind of assume is just like a pretty quick one-screen level, but while you're doing what Bobbaro's doing to try to kill this guy over to the right, all of the ants on the bottom are kind of just doing whatever the fuck they want, and now you can see all the ants that are doing whatever they want coming up and spamming everything. This is a very difficult level in my opinion, and a little interesting to see both players go here. I would almost potentially prefer to go back and kind of go to the level before this when the road forks, I think. Yeah, so players are not required to mark spaces when they complete a goal. So because of that, like, it's on the players to A, realize when they've marked a goal, or when they've reached a goal, and B, mark it off correctly. If it gets marked incorrectly, I have the power to like unmark it and let them know in the chat. So like, for instance, if someone just now marked off the Star Wasper space for beat 50,000, we know neither player's been in Star Wasper, so I would just unmark it and say you haven't gotten that goal yet. Meanwhile, bobbaro dipping out here and has 3 gifts and not 2. Thank you for checking. Shoutouts to the players checking their own gifts in the middle of the match. It's very helpful for me. This is so many red ants. They're all like bunched up against this wall, so like this is definitely possible. Oh, they're starting to sneak around. That's scary. I probably would have just left them locked against that wall. Did bobbaro actually beat this level? I don't think he did, right? I think he started this level and then got to about the point where Tutes is at and then just quit out. Oh, he did beat it? Interesting. So, this is sort of what I was talking about earlier, where players can beat a goal but not necessarily mark it off. Right now, bobbaro is pretty, in normal circumstances, pretty safe in assuming that Tutes has not been sitting in combat ants for like 20 minutes. If Tutes is able to get through this army of reds over here and kill this queen, he's going to mark it off pretty much right after. I don't know, that does block the bottom row bingo and the column 2 bingo, so that would actually honestly be a pretty devastating space to lose, in my opinion, especially since bobbaro has already beaten it. I thought he quit out early, so that's the main reason why I didn't comment on it, but okay, I mean, we do have the patented murder ball, where guys just die now. Meanwhile, pretty quick Night Manor speedrun here. And as soon as I say that, he misses the red. Sorry about that. Seems like there was maybe an interesting order of items taken here. I guess it's fine, but I think typically you're supposed to actually grab a couple more things along the way to sort of push stuff to better spots on your inventory. But again, both of these players expressed before the match that they're a little rusty in bingo in general and haven't really gotten to play too much in the past couple of weeks, so... That's gold number 2. And another gift also, because you just get the gift for that along the way. Definitely looking like a gift rush right now. But it is going to be devastating here when Toots marks this space. Very good job by Toots, by the way. Interesting that we had... So it's interesting that we had 2 squares in combat ants where both players got a goal first and didn't mark it off in time, so the other player got it. I don't know how likely that is to happen or not happen, but it's kind of funny that it happened in combat ants to both players. So how's it going, Matt? Good to see you. Yeah, so right before you got here, it was a head-to-head race in combat ants, and bobbaro marked off surprise before Toots, even though Toots beat it. So I think what had happened is because bobbaro marked off his space first, he thought he was the only one in combat ants, and sort of did exactly what I was talking about leading up to that, where he sort of double mind gamed himself and assumed that Toots wasn't in combat ants because he wasn't marking off a combat ant space. But kudos to Toots for not only staying in there but actually sniping that space back, because that was a yeah, I was gonna say, honestly, the way it played out, if anything, I wouldn't have assumed that Toots would have stayed in combat ants. Like, even if Toots had been in combat ants, seeing me mark off a space in combat ants first, I would have assumed Toots dipped out and tried to just do something else. But credit to Toots, he didn't do that. Just stayed in combat ants, beat surprise. Ironically enough, I think both players now know that they've... Well, no, because bobbaro still wouldn't know that he sniped. So they won't know until after the match that both of them sniped each other in combat ants goals that were honestly both very important for their bingos. Interesting back and forth there with 2 players potentially over mind gaming themselves. That's why a lot of the times in bingo, if I get a space, I just mark it off right away. Like, there is some advantage to delaying, but yeah, like you were just saying, you have to know exactly how long a person's going to take to get that goal anyway. Also, I think this is 6-3 for the gifts. It's been a little hard to keep track of the gifts because players are just bouncing around getting them right now, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like, if your opponent hasn't marked anything in 10 minutes, it's safe to say they're potentially working on any goal on the board. And definitely just gotta err on the side of I'm just gonna mark this when I get it rather than try to delay and get sniped. Because looking at the board, if bobbaro marked that space off, he would have been in a pretty commanding position now. He's still in a very good spot, 7-4, and has more progress on the general goals still. But like, if he was able to mark off that bottom left space, he would have been threatening the bottom bingo, the row 2 bingo, and could have basically just left him enough space to be able to get anything. I don't think he's going to lose off of it or anything, because unless Toots is able to kind of come back, but it definitely would have put Toots on almost like an impossibly hard back foot, I think. Because at that point, when you're already threatening 2 bingos at the same time, you kind of just have to choose and hope that you're picking the one that your opponent's working on. If they're even working on one, honestly. Um, yeah, I think that's the only bingo left on the board, right? Is the top to bottom diagonal that Toots is working on. I think it's safe to say that being in Zoldath and hoping that you have a seed that can generate meat fast. Toots also does have the Waldorf goal already, so it has one of the Arcade Ace ones. And honestly, like, in terms of Campanella 3 goals, like, this is pretty far into the game. But if you know Campanella 3, like, it's not, like, getting to Campanella Wave 3 and getting through Star Wasper Wave 3 are not the same thing. So, like, if you had to threaten a bingo off of Campanella 3 Stage 3, if you're in the game before your opponent, you're probably fine, unless you happen to game over, I guess, but... Column 4 as well. Oh yeah, true. Still don't have a boss beaten for either player, or any progress towards it. It does look like Bobro's going for the collect 7 upgrades of Mini and Max. I've not been keeping track of how many he's gotten, but I've seen at least like 3, I think. Yeah, that's true. If you're already in to Wave 3, from what I remember, Wave 4 and Wave 5 of Campanella 3 aren't really that bad. Meanwhile, it does start to work towards the bingo in the diagonal. We're seeing Warp Tank! How exciting. Hopefully Toots is using the documentation, but basically healing sectors available after 4 levels. Any 4 of the starting 6 are pretty fast, but the second room's honestly kind of faster than the first room is, I think. But, like, honestly, even if you don't really know Warp Tank, it's pretty generous with checkpoints, and it's one of the games that saves progress as you go, so if you, like, really wanted to, you could beat a couple levels in this for, like, a general goal of beat a certain amount of levels. Toots just saying, fuck that checkpoint, though. Meanwhile, we have our first boss beaten. The water bear does count as a boss, so... that's that, what, General 2? General 3. Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how many Mini and Max upgrades that is. I want to say he's probably up to 5 or 6 by now. It looks like a health upgrade. Probably just following the guide, so once this space gets marked off, I'm going to assume it's just off of the guide here. So let's see, it's health upgrade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus a health upgrade is 7. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people still aren't playing the board very much. Yeah, I think right now, interesting. I mean, honestly, given Bobaro's position on the board, I think this is actually fastest. But could be potentially trying to bait Bobbaro to block this. I mentioned that stage 3 is like not the hardest goal on here, but it is pretty far in. Each level of Campanella 3 is 4 waves plus a boss. It should probably take like 10-15 minutes here. If Toots is able to... I mean, you are sacrificing the only actual bingo left on the board, but if Toots is able to pull through here, gonna have to go to the right to get another level. Skull takes about 8 minutes. Okay. I haven't honestly played Campanella 3 in a minute. I kind of cherried it pretty fast and then only ever play it for the quick bingo goals. Resetting right away. Resetting for the gift? Is this not even for blocking the bingo? Is this just for the gift? If it's only for the gift, I don't know how much I love this play. I do like this if it's for the block for the bingo, because if you are bobbaro, you do have the point advantage right now. And yeah, I mean, I guess if you died fairly early, it's not the end of the world. I still feel like, given this position of trying to block the bingo, you'd probably just go for it. This almost feels like he's trying to play for the full clear to get the gift along the way, which would make sense. I think even if you don't get the full clear, you kind of just keep going, though. Because at this point, you don't know if Toots is in Campanella 3 along with you. And there's not really anything you can do to speed up Campanella 3, so you kind of just have to hope that you started it before your opponent. And obviously, the more times you reset there, the more issues you're going to have with that. Meanwhile, Toots is through 4 levels of 3 levels of Warp Tank. Looking pretty clean here. Thankfully knows where to go to get to Healing Sector. Just got to go down here, and there you go. Healing Sector as a level is pretty straightforward, especially after you get out of this first room, I would say. This first room kind of takes a while because you have to go through it vertically and then go through the same room horizontally, basically. But once you get through this first room, this level's pretty straightforward. Meanwhile, Campanella 3 is looking pretty good so far. 2 full clears should probably be enough to clear the bonus game. The more waves you full clear in Campanella 3, the easier the bonus game gets to clear. A little bit of an unfortunate death on the boss, but honestly, it's the boss, so I think it's okay. Mostly just gotta make sure you keep moving here and try to vary the X and Y axis that you're on to make sure that the bullets don't run into you. A little bit sketch of a pattern here, but still okay to get through. And if bobbaro is able to get this bonus game, this will be another gift. Needs to get 50 here. Basically, the bonus game gets easier as you get more waves of stuff, because more of these balloons turn from red to gold. The red balloons are worth 1, and the gold balloons are worth 3, and you gotta get it to 50 before the end of the bonus game. And made it. Nice, 54. I think that's 7 gifts. Could potentially be 8, but I think that's 7. Okay, that is 7. Okay. Also, I think bobbaro already had that space marked off, so that gift didn't actually matter. And meanwhile, that's Healing Sector beaten. I feel like if you're bobbaro, you're feeling pretty confident right now, seeing Warp Tank get marked off. Oh no! Toots, no! Don't commit to it now! No. Alright, so assuming that this goes as it's looking like, bobbaro has a full 1 stage lead right now in Campanella 3. I do think that at this point, if you're Toots, you probably should just try to go for another goal. When I was mentioning the strategy that Toots was taking, I assumed that he had seen the bingo and was just basically baiting bobbaro into doing a frankly kind of long goal that if you died really at all, it makes it a while. But yeah, I think as much as I love Warp Tank, yeah, okay, I think bobbaro sees that was probably being worked on and makes the right call to switch out. Going into another very fast goal here. Okay, I'm back to being on board with this strategy. I think Toots probably heard us complaining and realized that it made more sense for him to try to just do these remaining fast goals while bobbaro was almost certainly in there. Yeah, at this point you've committed to the majority play, you've committed to there not being bingo for you to win, and there are still a lot of fast goals on this. The one good thing about Campanella 3, I will say, is that it is helping bobbaro get some bosses. You gotta be careful with one hit left against Robo. Oof. Robopoke's not playing nice right now. These fists do gradually close in on you, and it's a little bit of a pain to keep them far enough away. Sketch. But that's another boss down. I think Bobbaro's actually up to 3 bosses. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, even if you aren't able to beat Star Whisper Wave 3, at least give it a try and at least get the 50k while you're in there. I will say that grinding for Star Whisper Wave 3 could potentially be a little bit of a time sink, but it's definitely worth it to just, like, go for it and at least get that 50k space for sure. So honestly, if I'm bobbaro, I probably just die instantly right here and restart stage C with yeah, I was gonna say you never really want to start a level of Campanella 3 with just one hit, because then anytime you get hit you get sent back to the start of stage C. So definitely an intelligent just die, and even if you take that hit right there, for instance, you still have another 2 hits to get through the level. That said, stage C is where the patterns in this game start to get a little more complicated. The boss, from what I remember, is a little more straightforward than some of the other bosses, but yeah, you get these guys that just spawn immediately on the plane that you're on. You get the guys that explode a little bit more. And yeah, 8-7 toots. I think this is the play here. Stay in Velgress, try to get another quick gold. The gold count is pretty even right now, so picking up a Velgress gold if you're able to while you're here definitely makes sense. Velgress is also an arcade game, so that would count towards Arcade Ace, where he has the advantage. And theoretically, with the god play of just gold disking Star Whisper forehead, you could get a triple play there of the get 50k, beat Wave 3, and Arcade Ace off of that. Oh, and it looks like I missed it, but it looks like bobbaro did die at this stage because he's down to 1 continue now. So just gotta play it a little safe here. Halfway through the wave, but these like steel crates start to show up and sort of limit your movement through the stage. If you're just trying to survive, this isn't really the most difficult pattern. I think the earlier wave. Yeah, I always forget that you can just crash into the Wave 5 boss. I definitely need to try to get my Star Whisper Cherry before that gets patched out, if it's going to. Because, like, the Stage 5 boss is honestly not the hardest thing. Unfortunately, Velgress has a tendency to do that. I tend to die to those fish bouncing off of each other, like, kind of a lot, honestly. It seems intentional. I mean, yeah, you're right, because it is, like, you have to have a life there to be able to burn the life, but I think it makes it more incentive to actually have lives while you're there. Meanwhile, bobbaro is on the Stage C boss with all 3 hits of this continue. The Stage 3 boss, Joe Pulp, is honestly, in my opinion, the easiest of the first couple of bosses. Like, he kind of just sits there firing missiles down at the top of the screen the entire time. And even when he gets you sometimes, like, as long as you're careful, you're generally okay. And yeah, like, even taking the hit there, absolutely no problem. Blocks the bingo, which is honestly very good for bobbaro. Also allows bobbaro to be free to get some quicker goals now. So while Tutes was able to use that time to catch up a little bit, it is still 9-7. As far as I know, the Underground Bingo is basically just playing with the regular rules of the season, so Tutes does still need to get 3 spaces here to be able to win before bobbaro gets 1. And unfortunately a pretty quick death in an overbold. At least it was a pretty quick death, so it didn't end up mattering. Not to belabor the point too much, but this Combat Ants beat 4 levels goal could have been a bingo for Bob had he marked it off. So a little unfortunate there that I think the snipe for surprise ended up mattering a little less than the snipe for beat levels. Bobbaro is probably in Campanella just for bosses right now. I think he has 4, because he got 3 from Campanella, and I think he had 1 before that. So I think he just needs to get to stage C here to be able to get this. Meanwhile, Tutes is going for purchase 3 price hiked items in 1 run. Depending on what's price hiked, this goal can be pretty straightforward. If you get a little unlucky and like the really expensive stuff is price hiked, then you gotta kind of game a little bit and overbold. Which honestly, gaming an overbold in bingo is always really terrifying in my opinion. It's definitely a game that stresses me out a little more than other games in bingo. Like, outside of bingo, I think overbold is generally pretty chill, but doing overbold under a time limit is definitely pretty intense. Well, that's another boss for bobbaro. Not the worst price hiked enemies. At least it's only 1 round of these bluebird things, and the like stationary flowers are honestly probably one of the easier enemies in this. Oh, but these bluebirds are everywhere. Good bomb though. Not too much to commentate on for the Campanella run. It looks like it's going pretty smoothly. As I anticipate, it's probably just going to be through stage C here. But it's been pretty straightforward till then. I don't know how many price hiked items Toots is up to. I want to say 2. I personally really like to see these jack-o'-lantern guys in runs. Not when they're dashing right at me, but... Unfortunately, 50 short of buying another price hiked item, so spends the money on health and stuff instead. A decent, like, this is not like the easiest wave, but for having 5 waves of enemies, like, could have been a little rougher, I think. Meanwhile, bobbaro is playing basketball. I personally think this basketball boss is actually, like, surprisingly hard in bingo sometimes. Like, I never have a problem with that boss casually, but for some reason playing basketball under pressure is a lot. So has 6 bosses now, I believe, and is just gonna go ahead and get the boss at the end of Mortal 2 here, it looks like. for the final boss and that other space, as well as another gold disc. The battle for the gold disc here is going to potentially be pretty interesting here, because bobbaro is ahead right now, but Toots has faster, like, both of the ones that he's gotten. I mean, I guess Boldar's pretty fast, but the other...
That's so cute. Oh my god.
Yeah, because I guess he didn't actually get Valgrass, sorry. I was saying that as remembering that he beat Valgrass, but I forgot that he died in stage 3. Just grab the health, thank you. Meanwhile, Mortal's going smooth.
I found this out because I was like...
Just grab the keys, make your way down. And that's the 4th price tagged item and a run. Meanwhile, I assume just trying to go hard, clear wave 8, and hoping for the best here. I'll avoid commentators cursing and focus on Mortal 2 for a minute. Mortal 2 is coming up to the hard part of the run where you put a teleport near the top. I don't mind a safety teleport there, but honestly, like in my experience, it doesn't actually really help to put one down there, in my opinion. Like after I learned the Mortal 2 speedrun, I found that putting a thing down there... Oh, unfortunately, I did peek over to Overbold and there was a little bit of a wombo combo there. So unfortunately, Toots has been pretty close on a couple of gold discs, but has unfortunately chosen some pretty hard ones. Looks like we are going for the Hotfoot gold disc now. A little surprised to see neither player touch Star Wasper yet. I know it's maybe not everyone's favorite games, but like it is a pretty fast game. And I definitely don't envy the players for trying to clear wave 3 at all. But from personal experience, you can actually score 50,000 points on the very first wave of Star Wasper. It's more realistic that you're going to get it towards the end of stage 2, but like if you are point grinding, you can get it at the end of stage 1. It does look like Toots knows the cheese of just play as the guy that cheats and cheat. I still need to personally learn this cheese, but I have seen it enough to know that it works very well. Towards the end of the game, you got to be a little more careful because some of the guys don't particularly love you being on their side. But surprisingly, the game doesn't super know what to do if you're on their side of the field a lot. And if you're able to knock down one player and just pick up the bag and kind of loop them over and over again. Both of these AI opponents seem to kind of be given the business a little bit, which is kind of funny, but this is still the generally like correct strategy for getting through Hotfoot quickly.
I know, like, why is the mustache like?
So
I mean, I guess technically it isn't
another quick
spot,
gold.
like above the mouth.
It was a pretty clean
But
Mortal
it's
2.
like a
I think towards the
ooh.
end, Bobbaro had a couple of extra
The
deaths,
mustache on
but
top, I don't know.
only 28 units, so not really that many. GG, that's gold number 3. I think Bobbaro being able to stay slightly farther ahead on the general goals has helped out a lot here. 6 gold discs is pretty far. Like, you still got a gold in another like 3 games. Head-to-head Hotfoot though. Honestly, if you're Bobbaro, this play makes sense because you have no clue what Toots is doing. But this could potentially be a fairly big waste of time. Depending on how things go here, I believe Toots is 2 games ahead right now. That said, it is 6-5.
Next promo is getting started, and then
Bobbaro's looking at the controls.
got winter and construction.
I'm assuming that means that he does not know the Hotfoot cheese.
Oh god. Oh god.
He does have the right team for this though, so you might be looking at the dock for it, but you got to be Edgar to cross over. All Judy can do is push over. Meanwhile, over on Toots' side, a pretty tense 10-9 battle here. That's a good spot for that mine, but just jumps over it. God damn. Tries to win it with Judy in the end and ends up just throwing the boomerang in her own face. Such is life, I guess. It's 14 to 12. Gotta be careful here. Alright. 15 to 12. Those AI opponents were not making that easy. Maintains the lead, though. I think it's a pretty solid 2-game advantage a little bit, but you never know with Hotfoot, honestly. For those that don't know, Hotfoot is 6 games in a row. 6 games? I believe it's 6 games in a row. And as you get farther into the tournament, you kind of just play more and more bullshit of opponents. So even though there is a game advantage, Hotfoot is known to Hotfoot sometimes, and not much you can really do about it. No, I think this is game number 2 for bobbaro. I think that first match was still the first game. Game number 5 for Toots. You can see that the opponent is a monkey from Party House, and basically the person that didn't get picked, or the person that didn't get picked is round 6, but one of the people that didn't get picked here. It does become a little bit harder to stay on the opponent's side here, because these opponents move pretty fast. Also, thank you for all for the follows tonight. I'm glad that we were able to cast some bingo stuff. Whenever this match is over, by the way, I'll probably try to squeeze in a quick practice game for my bingo match tomorrow. Not to promote my own match in the middle of someone else's, but Smo and I are battling tomorrow, and it should be pretty fun. So even after this match is over, there should be a little bit of bingo sticking around. Monkey got a rude combo there and ended up just completely tying it up. That was very mean. Bobbaro's gameplay seems to be going pretty good. As soon as I say that, a bag goes flying out of bounds, but that's Hotfoot in general. Also, welcome back, Crunch. Yeah, so I've never gotten this far with Edgar in the story mode or whatever. So I didn't realize that he's actually a little bit of a, like, it's a little bit of a drawback there when Monkey's trying to grab all of his stuff together. Because Monkey is able to hold 2 beanbags instead of just 1, and also is pretty fast. And also has the special word, like, he kind of like magnets beans to him, so if you're behind him, it can get pretty tough. And final game is Mascot versus Robot. Robot is a mean opponent because he can do the thing that Judy can do where she pushes stuff over, and also is able to hold 2 bags, and also I think moves faster if I remember correctly. So definitely a really mean final boss. I don't actually know if this counts as a boss. It doesn't matter now because the boss space is marked off, but it kind of feels like this robot should count as a boss, honestly, with how hard Hotfoot is. But as you can tell by how defensively Toots is playing, you can't actually like do the Edgar cheese really well on this stage, because Robot just kind of keeps pushing stuff over. I think that's the main reason that you end up playing as Judy as your partner for, that's like not really relevant for most of the game, but it's definitely very relevant in the final match. But unfortunately, Robot has a tendency to do that too. Bobbaro is currently ahead on the gold disc race, and I'm avoiding saying anything else till the end of this match. Bobbaro's game is 11-12. Bobbaro's got to be careful here. Oh, that's an unfortunate beanbag thrown into the middle. It's 13 to 14. Got 4 beanbags on his side though. Just hit some opponents and you're good. Are they unmuted? Nope. Oh, meanwhile, Bobbaro take the unfortunate reset. An unbelievably tense 14-13 match. Push him down, knock him down. Great job, Toots. And Bobbaro got to see here pretty quickly that he got sniped here, because there's really no other reason to stay in hot foot unless you're very comfortable with it. Finally, we see Star Wasper here. Toots could be making a pretty strong late game play to get the lead here, because Bobbaro has not seen the hot foot gold disc is marked off. Yeah, I'm glad you're able to be here too. This has been a fun match. This is the first time I've like solo casted a game in a while, so I've been a little behind on like the actual like individual score tracking and stuff, but we had a head-to-head combatants race. We had we had a head-to-head combatants race where both racers got goals and then didn't mark it off, so the other player got the goal instead. So the way these spaces are marked right now, where Bobbaro got the beat surprise space and Toots got the beat 4 level space, those goals were actually done in reverse order by the other players, but they didn't mark them off in time. I think it ended up mattering a little bit more for Bobbaro than it did for Toots, though, because that would have just been the bottom bingo here. Would have at least forced Toots to go into Campanella 3 at all. He dipped into it for like a little bit, but then smartly realized that Bobbaro was in it and did some other fast stuff in the meantime. And yeah, after an hour 15, we're almost completely tied up 10-9. Honestly, it looks like Bobbaro might just be staying in this for gold disc number 4. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Going for the hot foot gold disc when hot foot gold disc is the space on the board is like very understandable and reasonable. But I think it is pretty risky to kind of just have this, like, unless you're May and just got it hot foot, I guess. But I personally am not confident enough in hot foot to have this be in my arsenal of 6 gold discs that I'd be going for, especially when you still got stuff like Waldorf and at this point even camouflage that you can go. And yeah, there is the double Star Wasper square. Honestly, like, getting 50k is pretty straightforward. Getting through wave 3 is more of an ordeal, but still doable. And assuming Toots is able to clutch it out here, that would put him ahead 11-10. And really the only thing Bobbaro is getting out of this gold disc at this point is just another gold disc. And honestly, if I was Bobbaro, I probably would have quit out and just dipped into Vanger or something. Maybe even Gulf Area, like, just depending on which one you're more comfortable with. I know Vanger and Gulf Area are both kind of avoided goals for a lot of players at this point. But honestly, I think over an hour into the match, I think it's a little understandable that there's stuff on the board that players aren't comfortable with, but they kind of just got to go for anyway. I am surprised to see Bobbaro still in hot foot. I don't know what game he's on right now. Looks like he's getting pretty comfortable at the Judy just push people over and score on him phase. Meanwhile, Bobbaro or Toots is at 42k. Just got another option and kind of just playing this safe with the charged lasers from Gray Ship. I have recently become a red ship truther. I used to love gray ship and get defensive anytime anyone talks shit on gray ship. But gray ship's power is not very strong compared to some of the other spaces. Or compared to some of the other ships. And potentially just to stay in the flow, I was gonna say potentially to stay in the flow hasn't marked off the 50k space yet, but has officially tied it up 10 to 10. We didn't necessarily discuss before the match if we were using the playoff tiebreakers or if we were using the original tiebreakers. Currently, that would mean that bobbaro still has the lead if we're using the old tiebreakers, but being tied 10 to 10 with somewhat manageable goals still on the board is a very exciting space to be. Definitely glad I was able to hop on and cast this one. I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to because my wife's studying in the background, but she's been able to just chill and study while I do bingo stuff. So shout out to my wife for being able to study while I'm yapping about UFO 50 bingo in the background. I just saw bobbaro do like the most limp throw of all time and somehow not hit the kid that was directly in front of him. And it's like not Bobbaro's fault because that just kind of happens sometimes. But it was really funny to see that beanbag just basically drop out of Judy's hand and not go anywhere. Alright, all you gotta do is crash into this boss now, apparently, because apparently if you just crash into a boss, they just instant die. Doesn't even fucking need to. Gets the double space and Star Wasper, clearing wave 3, very clean. At this point, if you're tutes, yeah, stay in. Beat wave 4, get another gold disc. Why not, right? Getting Arcade Ace with a Star Wasper gold would be a pretty goddamn big flex. But also, like, would make sense. If you're tutes, you know you at least have a little bit of progress towards Arcade Ace. And bobbaro feeling the pressure now. For the first time all match, I think, is behind. Does have a pretty big advantage for actual gold discs, up 3 to 1 right now. And still has stuff like, you know, Waldorf. I think Camouflage is pretty fast. Can still definitely get 3 golds in 25 minutes. And I've been trying to avoid saying anything about this Wasper play, because quite honestly, I don't want to jinx anything. But this is absolutely fantastic Wasper play. Like, I'm mostly just in this rooting for tutes to be able to get this gold disc, because the only other person I've seen get a Star Wasper gold disc in a bingo race is Glove. And I remember it being super hype then. Getting through wave 3 as cleanly as Toots did, though, was exceptionally impressive. For those that have not played UFO 50, Star Wasper Wave 3 is almost universally seen as the hardest level in UFO 50. Like, I don't even, like, what else would even potentially be a contest for that? Onion Delivery Day 7, maybe? I feel like even Onion Delivery Day 7 is easier than Star Wasper Wave 3, though, depending on what you get for Wave 7.
I just want to sit on it.
And meanwhile, Wave 5, apparently just crash into this boss and you got a gold disc. Just run right into him. You got 3 lives. Hulk smash into him. I guess Toots doesn't know about that. Understandable. honestly, I like seeing this boss played straight up because this is a pretty cool boss. Also, the options from Gray Ship on this boss are absolutely incredible. I haven't gotten this far with Red Ship. I imagine Red Ship bombs against this boss are also pretty good. Toots is playing a little more to the back of the screen than I personally play this final boss, where I'd prefer to have movement up ahead, but casual Star Wasper gold disc. 50k away from a Star Wasper cherry in the middle of a race is
What does that mean?
mind-blowing.
Did I break
Yeah. Yeah, pop off, Toots. You deserve that one, buddy. Okay.
it? Toot.
Okay, indeed. I cannot believe that the 3 golds that Toots has are Waldorf, Hotfoot, and Star Wasper. What a collection of gold discs.
Even I understand.
And is
that.
also, like, much closer on the gold disc race than I thought. Because it looks like Magic Garden will actually be Arcade Ace number 3 and Gold number 4. Well, I am very glad that I decided to cast this match, because this ended up being unbelievably hype. Both bobbaro and Toots are playing very well. Both have gotten snipes on each other. I feel like this has been a pretty even back and forth. And Toots being able to come back. Yeah, casually just one-trying Star Wasper for the gold disc is unbelievable. Like, that completely changed this match from Toots playing catch-up to Toots actually being in a pretty commanding position here. An unfortunate game over with bobbaro too. Magic Garden has a tendency to do that, especially when the pressure's on. I feel like Magic Garden, when you're playing it casually, can be one of the most simple games in the collection. But Magic Garden, when you got pressure on the line, is unbelievably difficult. Not as hard as Star Wasper, but a few things are, so. And yeah, if your Toots, just honestly play this as safe as you need to. There's no reason to do any kind of high score grinding here, you just need to beat it. I mean, if you're bobbaro, it's the same position, but Magic Garden Gold helps Toots a lot more because it'll be his 3rd for Arcade Ace and put him in a 12-10 lead here. And honestly, given the amount of time that's left, it'll be pretty tough for bobbaro to come back, especially since I think it's pretty safe to assume if neither player's gone for Vanger or really gone for the breaks. Toots did go for the blockbuster a little bit earlier, but I think it's safe to say neither player is like super comfortable in either of those games. So that was a weird spawn for that blue Oppie that turned into a guy for Toots' screen. It like spawned in right at the very end of the potion cycle, so it like spawned in as an actual like threatening Oppie, even though there were potions on board. And yeah, for those that don't know, the farther you get into Magic Garden, and specifically the amount of, I believe it's gold potions that spawn, will increase the amount of red Oppies that spawn as well. So it kind of, even though it looks like Toots is only halfway score-wise, he's actually probably a little bit farther than that, because you can see just now, for instance, like the amount of red Oppies that are spawning compared to bobbaro's screen is like over more than double. Also, hey Chocolate Cake, how's it going? You've missed a pretty entertaining bingo match so far. Both players have been neck and neck the entire time, and until probably like 5 minutes ago, Toots was behind, but then casually 1 CC'd Star Wasper for the gold disc, which also contributes to Arcade Ace. I mean, like I said, just beat Star Wasper. And yeah, it is really going to come down to not marking the combatant's tile right away. I thought that bobbaro had quit out of that mission before beating it, but assuming that he did actually beat that space like Spooty had saw, that is definitely going to be a match-deciding space. Which is kind of funny, because when we had that error happen at the time, both Spooty and I kind of mentioned that we didn't think that it was really going to impact stuff with the lead that bobbaro had. But that was before knowing that Toots is a Star Wasper god. You gotta be careful. Yeah, I was gonna say you gotta be careful on that drop off. That line, or that like group of stars disappearing right when you get there is potentially dangerous. Yeah, if your Toots, just play this like as safe as you've ever played Star or Magic Garden. Just clear everything out of the way, drop some stuff off along the way. Doesn't really matter if you drop off another blue Oppie or two, because you have enough potions to be able to carry you here. And is this GG? That's 201. That's gold number 4, Arcade Ace. Checking to make sure that's arcade. Checking to make sure that's arcade. Check Waldorf. Yep. Great job by Toots. That was a fantastic Arcade Ace rush. Oh no! And bobbaro paused at an unfortunate time, I think, to check the board, and ended up running into the wall pretty late into a Magic Garden run. Like I mentioned, Magic Garden with pressure on is pretty intense. Gonna go ahead and stay in, but Toots has jumped ahead for golds and still has some very fast ones left. Hasn't beaten Mortal 2 yet, hasn't beaten Pin Golf yet, hasn't beaten Night Manor yet, and basically just has his pick of golds at this point. And given that bobbaro doesn't know that and still thinks that he's ahead on gold discs, which he was for a while, but Toots kind of stormed back with the back-to-back Star Wasper into Magic Garden play there. And I think just pulled ahead here just in time to be able to potentially clinch this by majority. I don't want to speak too soon, I guess, but typically, even if players mess up in Mortal 2 and or Night Manor, I think they can still get that in 15 minutes. Or get both in 15 minutes. I almost never kill that guy, so it's really funny that Toots did. I normally just use another warp to get up there. Whew. Sketch spot for that warp, though. Ended up working out okay, but that was a very terrifying spot for that warp. So I just noticed that there hasn't really been a ton of background audio. Sorry about that, y'all. I was listening to, I think, one of these players race their audio, but either way, the match is almost over, so I guess it doesn't matter, but next time we'll have the playlist in the background. And I believe there's going to be another like 3 or 4 weeks of regular playoffs as well as the Underground Bingo playoffs. So we should still have enough time to cast at least another match or 2 before the end of Season 1. Okay, so I do have audio. It's just like barely audible from Toots' end. I could have switched over to Bobbaro's Magic Garden audio, but that's okay. So that's another gold down for Toots, and all he's got to do is casual Night Manor run, yeah. So bobbaro does now see that he's got to get the other spaces on the board here. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think he's going to... Like, he might be able to get up to this blockbuster in time. But even if he does, he's unfortunately not going to have enough time to get the blockbuster, get the Vanger key code, and get another 3 golds in the next 15 minutes. So, yeah, this match really did come down to this combatant's space not being marked off in time. And while it is funny that both players had a space stolen from each other, this one was definitely more impactful for the match. And honestly, I think even if, like, Toots ended up having to spend a bunch of time going into Campanella 3 to block this bingo, it would have made the match pretty interesting because Toots was still ahead on Arcade Ace at that time, but maybe would have put a little bit more pressure on for Toots to maybe not 1cc Star Wasper, or like maybe not also 1cc Magic Garden. That late game run of a Star Wasper gold into a Magic Garden gold to both get gold discs and Arcade Ace, though, definitely helped out a lot. And Toots definitely knows the strat of grab extra crap in Night Manor. It doesn't seem like it's very helpful, but it definitely pushes some of these more important items to back pages where you don't have to like flip through stuff over and over again. Didn't grab the wrench, but that's okay. Or the screwdriver. If you grab the screwdriver first, it pushes the wrench and the shovel onto the second page. Not really a super important time save in this instance in particular, but just as a heads up for anyone who was wondering. And yeah, this is looking like it's going to be a 13-10 victory. bobbaro had the 10 points, honestly, pretty early into this match, but then kind of just got sniped a couple of times, and Toots popped off in Star Wasper. And that's gold disc number 6.
Holy moly, dude.
GG's.
Endgame.
Yeah, waiting for Toots to pop back on mic here, but he very casually 1cc'd Star Wasper, got a gold disc, and then immediately got a Magic Garden gold disc, and kind of just popped off from there. GG, Toots.
GG.
Okay, quick question. How long was I in Hotfoot before I realized that he had marked Hotfoot off?
Like 2 games, I think. So not like a ton of time, but you did lose a little bit of time there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, wow, you really finished like Hotfoot, both Star Wasper goals and the arcade goal, like.
Yeah, that run of the run of Hotfoot gold into Star Wasper gold into Magic Garden gold into clearing out the rest of the golds there was very impressive.
Oh, I couldn't believe Star Wars. I thought I was gonna be stuck there. Yeah, I forgot to mark combatants. Surprise.
So it's actually kind of funny you bring that up because
that's what happened.
Yeah, both of you didn't mark a space off in combatants and got spaces from each other.
I marked combat ants beat surprise, and I was like, okay, so he's gonna see that I marked beat surprise, so there's no way he's gonna go for beat 4 levels, right? And keep that sneaky, so when I do the gift rush, then I can mark off 2 at a time and try to go for the.
Yeah, that's what we figured. It ended up being a pretty costly play though, because Toots was unfortunately still in combat ants and just kind of kept trucking along right as you marked that space off.
Yeah. I was wondering how that happened.
Yeah, it was it was a head-to-head combatants race for a minute, and you ended up actually, Toots, you got the space first, but didn't mark it off in time. And then Bobbaro ended up marking it off while Toots was still in it. And I think Toots saw that and was just like, well, I'm already in combatants, I might as well keep going here. But
I gambled. I said, yeah, maybe he just beat it and changed it to another game.
yeah, it ended up, it was a very fun game from start to finish, honestly. There was a lot to talk about during that match, and some very good play from both you guys.
Yeah,
And the start, I freaked out.
Yeah.
I don't remember go far how to get the blockbuster.
Yeah, I always get lost in Gulf area too, so I don't blame you on that one. Toots, as a heads up, did you know that you can just crash into bosses in Star Whisper and insta-kill them? No?
Oh, yeah, I always forget that. Never had. Someone told me, but I always forget. That's a good tech. I had to.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in the game, it's pretty counterintuitive to intentionally waste a life or whatever, but it's fun to watch you play the bosses straight up because of that, though, so...
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely don't think I've ever seen a collect 6 gold discs where Hotfoot and Star Wasper were a part of that, so...
yeah, that's crazy. Again, that endgame snowball was crazy. I am looking forward to seeing that. Well played, very well played on that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. GG's. You both definitely played well. I'm definitely looking forward to your games in the future. This is, as a heads up for everyone watching, it is a double elimination tournament now. So even though Bobbaro lost this week, he's still got games and stuff, so...
Second chances, successful lobbying for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do either of you guys have anything else?
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, this was a really interesting board for me because it has a lot of goals that play to my strengths and a lot that definitely do not. Like, we had the Minion Max, the Pin Golf, Mooncat.
Yeah. Honestly, like, really
pretty
smooth.
Confident in Combat Ants.
Yeah.
Easter Egg UFO, except I completely blanked on where the onion delivery one was. I guess I need to retrace my routing there.
It's pretty easy to get lost for the onion delivery UFO. I tend to just kind of keep going right and down until I reach that spot, like across the water, and then it's like right there. But I know a lot of people basically just like cross the water first and then go straight down until they reach that, like, I think it's Drillies that everyone turns at, but...
But then on the other hand, there was like Hotfoot, Overbold, Star Wasper, Valbrace, and those are all the Planet Zoldat. Those are all games I am not comfortable with. So
yeah, well,
very
I mean,
interesting layout there.
Definitely happens. We're all B tier players, and I think it's safe to say there's games that we're all really cracked at, and then games that we barely play ever. So.
Oh, I got so lucky.
That Campanella 3 was the first time I had been that far since getting the cherry. So
yeah,
that was interesting. I had to remember how the slime enemies worked for a second.
Yeah, the guys that spawn like right on your plane automatically or whatever. Yeah.
No, that was super fun.
Yeah, GG's.
Again, crazy comeback. Well played.
Yeah, that was awesome. Definitely looking forward to watching that one back myself, honestly. Cool.
I'll watch it later tomorrow. Hey, thanks for the cast.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
happy to do it.
Thanks for jumping into cast.
Yeah, I should have the highlight up pretty soon after stream today, honestly.
All right, sounds good.
Cool.
I've actually got to get up kind of early tomorrow, so I'm gonna probably get ready for bed. But great way to end the night.
Yeah, it was very fun. GG's to both of you. Have a good night.
Hi, Raiders. Welcome in.
Yeah.
Magical Survivor, thank you so
You're
much
on.
for the raid.
I waved to you. You
Sassy
couldn't see.
Ashley.
Have a good night. Bye. Okay. So I'm not done with stream quite yet. Thank you. That was a very fun match to commentate, honestly. There was a lot to talk about. Both players played really well. The racers say thank you for being able to let me commentate.
Oh, of course. I ended
Well-
up. I wasn't even like I was doing things, but it wasn't stuff I needed you to be quiet for. You literally didn't bother me at all. So
Well, I gave you a shout out in the middle of the race to be able to.
you're so sweet.
But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, I will be practicing for my bingo match tomorrow. For those that don't know, I am battling Smo in our round of the Underground Tourney, and the gimmick for our game is that we're only going to be playing on